Let's get ready to rumble!
Hello and welcome to Netflix vs. Cinema, the podcast that is this week looking at the Oscar nominations and thinking, really? My name is Tosin and I am your host. I am based in a place called Bromsgrove in the middle of the United Kingdom, and joining me from the Isle of Wight is Sharon Bollen.
Hello.
Hi Sharon. Hi Sharon. We do not have a Sean with us from Thailand today, and we didn't have time to get a third person, so you have the two of us. You have the two of us this week. And I kicked off by speaking about, first of all, let's talk about what it is that we do on this show. On this show, it's called Netflix vs. Cinema. So we go to the cinema and see a couple of things each week, usually 3, depending on how many of us show up for the call, and stay at home, see a similar number of things, and then we weigh them up and say, where was the money better spent this week? Was it better spent in cinema, or was it better spent at home? And, yeah, and so the Oscar nominations were released this week. And Sharon, have you seen the list for the Oscar nominations?
I don't think I've seen the complete list, but I've seen the highlights.
All right. Yeah, because everybody's talking about the highlights. And the thing, or the overriding thing is, first of all, that got me about this was like, oh, I've seen some of these films. Because obviously last year, when the Oscars race came round, there were a whole bunch of films that were not available to see in the UK yet. So we're like, well, we've heard about Nomadland, haven't seen it, can't do anything. But this year, thankfully, with the return of cinemas and everything, we now have there's a lot of these films that we could say that we've seen. However, it's beginning to make me think. I'm not sure whether the break in the pandemic with cinema reset my brain or something like that. I'm not so sure about Oscars anymore, and I'm looking at some of the films that they've nominated, and I'm thinking, what? I'm not sure about that. Like, okay, so let's go through Best Picture lists, and there's some of these you've seen, some of these I've seen. Belfast.
Yeah, good.
Yep, Belfast, good. There's a film called Coda. It stands for Child of Deaf Adults.
Not seen it.
It was a smaller indie film that was released earlier in the year that I wanted to see, and I couldn't get to the cinema, and I'm still not sure where you can see it now. But hey, that's what we got Just to Watch for. Anyway, and Don't Look Up.
Yeah, you saw that. I didn't see it. I wasn't aware that it had a cinema release.
It would have done in some cinema for 2 weeks in America, and to qualify, because that's what Netflix do. They'll release it for 2 weeks in the cinema to qualify for the Oscars, and then they take it out, and then everybody else sees it on Netflix. So, Drive My Car, which is a Japanese movie I haven't seen. Dune.
Seen it.
Dune. Oh yeah. Well, okay. Well, going back to Don't Look Up. I remember Don't Look Up. Although I gave it a 4 out of 5, but Best Picture,
yeah.
I don't know about that. That to me. That's the kind of nomination that has people yelling, liberal agenda!
A bit of a populist choice, maybe, but yeah, I'm surprised that they think it was one of the best films of the year.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, how do I put it? I mean, Hollywood is known for being liberal. Hollywood is known for leaning more towards that thing. So if there's anything that, like, people would put as a bleeding heart issue or something like that, Hollywood is usually behind that. So, but I liked Don't Look Up a lot, but I don't know about one of the best films of the year. About the 10 best films of the year, I don't know. So Dune, you saw Dune, right?
Yeah, I saw Dune.
What do you think about that for one of the best films of the year?
I wouldn't place it as one of the best films of the year. I certainly enjoyed it, but I wouldn't have put it up there with Belfast.
Well, you see, now this is the thing. I mean, okay, I know that this is I haven't really thought much about this, but obviously the obvious question is, well, if you're saying these are the best films of the year, what are the best films of the year? And I'm going to be honest with you, haven't thought about it. So these might be the best films of the year, but if that's... Yeah, these might be the best films of the year, but if these are the best films of the year, that means we might not have that good a year of films, because Dune, I liked Dune. I thought Dune, for its visuals and everything like that, was great. But I still maintain that if you hadn't read the books, I really think you'd be lost. And I really think that you would be like, what on earth is going on here? So
when you watch it, you are aware that there's more of the world you haven't seen. There's more that you know about.
even the bits that you do see, I mean, I feel like there's a lot that's skimmed over. And I feel that because I've read the book and I know that there's a heck of a lot that they didn't put in. But for someone who hasn't read the book or read the book recently, I mean, I've spoken to quite a few people who said I couldn't follow it. I spoke to there's two of my friends, a couple, Lindsay and Holly, and Lindsay saw it with her dad, and they both read Dune and loved it. They were like, "Oh my god, it was great!" And Holly was watching it, going, "Didn't have a clue what was going on." Didn't have a clue what was going. And so
I knew the David Lynch Dune film, and I think having that as a background almost helped in some ways because it filled in some of the gaps for me.
Yeah,
that's obviously not the ideal way of learning about a book.
Yeah,
I haven't seen a previous film, but I think having had the previous film in my head as well, some of it made more sense, especially about the Bene Gesserit and all that sort of thing. I got who they were, whereas from this film, I probably wouldn't have known who they were or the fact that Lady Jessica was anything to do with them.
Yeah, it's
her relationship was not quite clear.
Essentially, I don't know. I know Dune is getting a lot of plaudits and a lot of people are yelling about it. I mean, I would give it a lot of technical stuff. I mean, I would say for its visuals, for its effects, for its set design, for the realization of the world, yes. But as a film and as a story to get, I don't know about that. But I'm going to carry on knowing that I'm sounding like a total grump here. King Richard. Now, this is a film that
I didn't see that one.
Yeah, this is a film that I liked. I really liked, and I think that this is a 3-star film that's elevated to a 4-star film based on Will Smith's performance. That I think is the case, but it's a sports drama, and it doesn't really do much different than any other sports drama. Kind of, I mean, it avoids some of the pitfalls. It avoids some of the sort of like inspirational speech, and then there you go. Maybe because it's not like a team sport thing. Maybe because it's like, it's more of an individual thing. And it's not focused entirely on the athletes, but on the coach. But yeah, I don't know about it being. I don't know about that. But anyway, you'll be hearing me saying a lot of I don't know about that. Licorice Pizza.
Yeah, I saw that one.
You saw that one. You were quite taken with Licorice Pizza.
Fun. I enjoyed it. I don't know whether it would be best film category, but I certainly enjoyed it.
All right. So, do you feel happy with this sitting beside Belfast on a list?
I would qualify that as a yes, considering the sort of the range of films we've seen this year. I would say it's probably up there with the best of them.
Yes.
And that's in a sort of quite a thin.
All right, cool. Okay, good. Nightmare Alley.
No.
Okay, we reviewed this last week. We both saw it. We both gave it 3 out of 5. We both had the same problems with it, and this feels. And Nightmare Alley is a film that's a bit like a throwback in many ways, and it being on this list feels like a throwback, like 40 years. It feels like the kind of film. It feels like the kind of film that won Best Film 40 years ago, or something like that. But yeah, I don't understand why it's on the list. But
that's on there.
And now we get to a film that I've had every chance to see, and I have still not seen it on Netflix. Power of the Dog.
Same here.
Yeah, which is. So we can't say anything about that because it's Jane Campion. I expect it to be arty. I expect it to, and part of the reason that I haven't watched it is because it's Jane Campion, and I expect to not get what she's aiming at. I
love the piano, but that's going back a long time now.
Yes. She's done another one since then, but I can't remember the name. And but okay. When I eventually watch The Power of the Dog, I will feel okay to speak when it eventually wins Best Actor or Best Picture Oscar. And finally, West Side Story.
Yes, I liked West Side Story. So its first version, though, did the first one get? I know it got loads of nominations.
It did win Best Picture.
Best Picture.
It won Best Picture. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, well, okay. Now, West Side Story. I mean, not being somebody who isn't as conversant with West Side Story, and I haven't watched the original. I've seen scenes from it and all that. So I was not as taken with West Side Story as you were. Like, I think the story of West Side Story, just kind of really annoyed me. Tony and Maria just really annoyed me.
Yeah, well, it's just Romeo and Juliet, isn't it? That's who it is.
Yeah, but I've seen Romeo and Juliet, but these two annoyed me more than that. I don't know whether it's because the language or because I'm being all snobbish and thinking, oh, but it's Shakespeare, and oh yes, yeah. But yeah, something about them and the characterization just really annoyed me, and it just felt like a lot of the stuff. And I guess that's the whole thing about Shakespearean tragedies, because I've always said that Shakespearean tragedies rely on one person being monumentally stupid. and it destroys everybody else's lives. And maybe it's something about this that maybe that just carries on with the Shakespearean thing. But I was watching West Side Story going, especially because this one is a lot more realistic and it's a lot grittier than the other sort of Technicolor one. I'm kind of going, this could all be avoided. This could all be so easily avoided. But anyway, so that's the list for Best Picture nominees, and it does make me look at it and go, if those are... I mean, obviously, the challenge is for me to now go and say which films were better than those 10 that have been announced, and I will half-heartedly do that. But at the moment, I look at that going, oof, maybe it hasn't been a banner year for cinema.
I wouldn't have. Yeah, I suppose it's not been. I'm just surprised that they are the best judged to be the best films of the year. I have to say.
Yeah, I have to admit it's definitely the case. But anyway, we're going away from that. We're going to go away to something that we find a bit cheerier, which is people getting back in touch with us. And
we like.
Yes, we like it. People getting back in touch with us to let us know. It's always good to know that there is at least one person listening. And this one person this week is my cousin Taiwo, who seems to listen to it regularly and then comment on what he says. And he's commented on our episode last week, in which I had my daughter Kemi with me, all 16 months of her on my lap throughout the entire podcast. And he says it's funny that Kemi got the last word on the podcast, because if you listen to it, she does say the very last thing that that we hear on the podcast from last week. It's like, and he says maybe it's because because he has a young daughter as well. But Kemi became background noise very quickly. And he also says that regarding the abuse and heckling, because I pointed out the fact that Sean gets fan mail, Sharon gets people who want to engage with the reviews, and I get abuse. That's what we find online. That's what happens. It's he says, remember that only in his hometown is a prophet without honor. So
biblical and true.
yes. I'm still trying to figure out exactly what that means about where is my hometown, and does that mean I get honor nowhere? But
you are our media king of all things media, so it's in this world that you reign. So
thank you very much, Sharon. Right, okay, so let's see if we can stop me being grumpy about films and with them getting recognized for stuff that I don't think they deserve, even though people have worked really, really hard on them. Let's go to what we have seen this week. So in cinema, Sharon, you saw...
I saw Moonfall.
I am so looking forward to this. I'm so looking forward to this. All right, cool. So you saw Moonfall, and I saw Sing 2. And the reason that this happened is, if you haven't listened to us before, Sharon cannot abide by animation. She cannot stand it. It is like torture asking Sharon to watch anything that is animated. On the other hand, for me, that is where I live. I love animated stuff. So when I looked at the list of things that were out this week, and I looked and I thought, so I think the only two new things in cinema are Sing 2 and Moonfall. So I shot you a message going, these are the only two things in my cinema. How about in your cinema? You were like, same. I was like, okay, I'll watch Sing 2.
Okay.
I was just kind of like, I'll watch Sing 2 and you go watch Moonfall, which I don't know, might not be much better than. But anyway, and at home, what did you see?
I saw, it's a film I didn't see this week, but it's one I haven't reviewed. It's called Falling for Figaro, which was on Netflix. Falling
for Figaro, okay, on Netflix. And I, on Netflix as well, saw the big documentary that everybody is talking about at the moment, the Tinder Swindler.
Okay.
Oh, your face tells me that you haven't heard of that.
Not heard of that at all.
Oh, it is all over. Like there's think pieces being written about this thing in the Times.
Okay.
Yes. So let's go, or we always try and go with what we think the biggest release of the film of the week is first. And Sharon, for better or worse, that's you. You got the big release finally this week, which is Moonfall. Now, so take it away. Tell us about Moonfall.
Well, there's an expression that you may not have heard before, but I can basically sum up this film with 4 words.
Mm-hmm.
Fur coat, no knickers. That is my review.
And now, okay, so we move on to our next film.
So I would qualify that by saying the fur coat is they have thrown a lot of money on their special effects on this film.
Yep.
And the no knickers is, but there's no story. There's no characterization. There's no involvement. There's no anything that makes a film good is just basically this. The fact that you don't care, you couldn't care less about any of the characters. The fact that the story makes no sense. The fact that that the people do stupid things. And that, so fur coat no knickers is my assessment of this film.
Okay, so this is directed by Roland Emmerich.
Yeah.
Who is
2012.
Well, the thing is, like, he's most famous, probably his best film and his most well is Independence Day.
Yeah.
And Independence Day, I felt, was kind of like this perfect marriage of stupid and spectacular.
Yes.
And I felt like there was some sort of alchemy, lightning in a bottle magic that he caught in Independence Day, and I feel he has been chasing ever since and never been able to recapture.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
So the basic story is
for what it is. I mean, the title tells you Moonfall. The moon's gonna fall.
Something's wrong with the moon. And then this disillusioned ex-NASA pilot and his former he's an astronaut with NASA, and his former sort of astronaut buddy, his work wife, and this weirdo sort of pseudo-scientist guy work out that there's something wrong with the moon and they've got to go and sort it out. But the moon isn't what we think it is, and something weird is happening with the moon, which is not what we
Okay. If you're watching this review on YouTube or Facebook, Sharon's face is priceless right now. It's just kind of like, I cannot believe that this is even part of my life. I was like
that when I was watching it. I was just sort of thinking, looking around, thinking, why am I here? Part of me, even at one point, started thinking about what shoes I'm going to wear when I go out the next day. I was thinking, I'm going out tomorrow, I'm going to be walking a while. What shoes should I wear? Because I want to wear the comfy ones. And I was like, the film's still going. Okay, I better can watch on a bit more. So you can tell how I was really into this film. Not.
Okay, all right. Okay, so I think the plot summary that you said is probably what you need to know. The moon's falling, something's wrong with the moon, someone's got to go punch it or something like that. I don't... So Roland Emmerich, we know that there's certain things that you see. So you mentioned 2012, The Day After Tomorrow. This is a man who destroys the earth on a regular basis with usually massive CGI waves of water.
Oh yes, this is waves of water crashing all over, killing untold millions.
Yeah.
In their wake, and then you have like the main protagonist. Then you get to meet their family. Then they put the family in peril, and then then someone will die, a token person will die.
Yep.
And then we don't really care. And
a token person will make a sacrifice so that we can achieve whatever mission it is to stop the earth being destroyed.
Someone will be like, oh yes, I'm, you carry on, you do this. I'm just going to stay here and die. And it's like, all right then, see ya. And so there's no emotional connection to any of the characters. I mean, they could all have blown up in the second scene. I'd be like, oh, see ya. So there was no emotional involvement in this film at all with any of the characters. They would do, like with 2012, it reminded me of that, where they sort of, in a vehicle, they sort of outdrove a a volcanic eruption, a pyroclasmic surge. They managed to drive. This one is like there's a gravity wave propelled by the fact that the moon is falling, and they were just able to drive it, which is like, well, that's convenient. Let's all just hop in a car and just.
That is one of his moves. I think it was 2012 when they had a plane that outruns an exploding airport or something like that.
Yeah, and it just manages to stay ahead of it.
Just manages to stay ahead of it. Oh my God, the flames have engulfed us, and are we dead? No, the plane just burst through the flames.
And this is like, at one point I wasn't quite sure whether there was a scene in a helicopter where there's waves, there's gravity waves, there's all sorts of things going on, and the helicopter's like going, keep going. And then I don't even know what happened to the helicopter. Did it crash, or I couldn't work out what happened to it. It was just like, was that it? Are they all dead? Yeah. So you just couldn't care less about any of the characters, and then you get introduced to some, and it's like, oh yeah, this is a really quirky character. He's really funny. You don't see them again. It's like, oh okay, he just died, did he? Because you just got no idea what's going on. It was just a mess.
Yeah, I have to admit, I did, because I feel like there's been a law of diminishing returns with Roland Emmerich ever since Independence Day, where each film seems to get subsequently worse. It seems to get like less. It's like there's no fun in it. There's no fun in it. There's all the CGI destruction, but there's nothing to bore you along. And so I've got to be honest, I really was not hopeful for this film because his recent track record says Independence Day was a bit of a one-off.
And even with the big reveal, because there is like a bit of a surprise, like, oh look, you didn't expect to see this coming, did you? Even when there's a little bit of a reveal at the end, I was just like, oh, well, oh, good. We started thinking something different.
Can I go home now?
Yeah. So yeah, again, it wasn't enough to have that little zap of inspiration, really. I just felt it was, this element worked from this film, so we'll use that element. This bit worked well in that film, we'll use that element. It just felt like it was they spent all the money on the fur coat, and then they just haven't got anything underneath. Yep. So to me, it didn't do anything other than kill 2 hours.
How many stars would you attribute to Moonfall?
I will be generous with this one, and I will give it a 2-star. Because I think, to me, it felt like an utter waste of time. But some of the effects are like quite impressive. It's like, oh, that is interesting. Completely unfeasible. I mean, if the moon was entering our atmosphere, which it does at one point in the film, I'm pretty sure that will probably be an extinction level event. I don't think there'll be anyone, talking about that, afterwards. Yeah. So the fact that it's all like, the moon goes, well, if Roland Emmerich has a very, very loose understanding of science. Like in Independence Day Resurgence, where there's this massive Atlantic spanning spaceship that lands on the Earth, and that does absolutely nothing to change the gravitational pull or the orbit around the sun or anything like that. But the way I'll put it is, it's kind of like the Fast and Furious films. Fast 5 is probably where they hit the right mix of everything, and so if Fast 5 is Independence Day, this is Fast 9, which was a total load of nonsense. That's what it seems. That's what it seems like to me. So 2 stars. 2 stars for Moonfall. Yeah. And I think that's probably been quite generous with it.
Yeah. Oh, okay, this is hard. This is me trying very hard not to review a film I haven't seen, but I can totally believe it. I'll leave it at that. I can totally believe that. All right, and so now we move away from cinema and we go on to Netflix. And Netflix. So I saw the Swindler, the Tinder Swindler, and this is. Essentially, Netflix are hitting a groove with certain types of things. I think the different streaming platforms are beginning to realize what it is that they do. I think Sky Cinema, if you want films, Sky Cinema is where you go for a streaming platform. If you want documentaries, Netflix is becoming the place. And they seem to have hit a formula where if you can give me a pitch for something, give me a 2-line pitch for something, and if it's an interesting 2-line pitch, they have hit a formula of how to turn that into an arresting documentary. So, interesting 2-line pitch for this would be like, um, man meets women on Tinder, convinces them that he's rich, takes all their money. And that's like the 2-line thing of this. And then they go into this, and you start off and you meet these 2 women. So one of them is Swedish, one of them is Norwegian. And they're both talking about Tinder and about how it's great and how you go in there to, like, find a love match, or it's like there's everything on Tinder.
You really need to explain to me, because I've never been on Tinder and I never know which is the really saucy one, which is just like a dating app, and which one is like a friendship thing. So
I've never been on Tinder either, but Tinder is the one that started up as a hookup app. So looking for people close to you who just wanted to have sex, and that's it.
I thought it was the saucy one, but I wasn't quite sure.
Tinder was the saucy one, but Tinder seems to think, there's money in relationships. So Tinder has evolved. So there's a bit where they're talking about it at the beginning, where they're saying, well, you can find anything you want on Tinder. If you want to find someone just to hook up with, you can find it. If you want to look for a relationship, you can find it. If you're looking for marriage, you can find it on Tinder. So Tinder has evolved to sort of match people in different ways. And so this, the first lady, Cecilia, is talking about how she saw this guy Simon. She looked on his profile, and all the pictures were the kind of things that she likes. Seems to travel. So she meets up with him, and she goes for a date. And at the end of the date, he's going, I'm sorry, but for my business, I have to travel to somewhere in Europe. I can't remember, but like, let's say Barcelona, but someone like that, some exotic location, on my private jet. Do you want to come? And so she's like, okay, yeah. So she gets sent home in in a limo to pick up her stuff, to pack her bags, and she goes off for a weekend with this guy. And she's like, oh my God, this is so amazing, such a different life. And he keeps showering her with gifts and all that, but he's never really in town for that long. So but eventually they start having a relationship, and she's like, this is great, this is brilliant, this is going well. Then he says, but he explains that he's in the diamond trade. He's in the diamond trade, but because he's in the diamond trade, it's quite dangerous. And he once, when she's sleeping with him, she notices that he has scars on his back, and he says he got locked up in a prison in South Africa because of the diamond trade and all that. And so then he says, oh my God, I've got to go into hiding. My enemies are after me. I can't use my credit cards. I need to get one in your name. Could you send me cash? I need this. Oh, we need more money. We need more money. And round about the time she hits $100,000 of debt, she starts thinking something's wrong.
And away.
I know. I mean, there's an element of this where you think, that way you think. Well, I think everybody has different reactions, but I think a very common reaction is, "What the heck? Why the heck?" And you think, I would never do that. Because I'm thinking, but anyway, it's well established that I am an Ijebu man from the Yoruba tribe of Nigeria. I'm an Ijebu man, and we hold our money tightly. The second somebody shows up and says, oh, my life's in danger, I need £20,000, I'm like, well, nice knowing you. And
sorry to get lost.
Yeah, exactly. That's the end of it for me. But I mean, but I also come from a country that has popularized sort of online romance scams, 419 scams, where nobody in Nigeria understands how anybody falls for these, but people regularly fall for these, and it's actually like a multi-million-pound industry. So there are people who, because I'm not sure whether it's like a psychological thing or their makeup, that, can be swindled in this way. And so, the fact that, so obviously the fact that the film's called The Tinder Swindler tells you that there's a swindle going on, that not everything's on the level. So she ends up in debt. But this guy's saying, no, look, I'm going to pay you back. I've got this big deal's coming. I'm going to pay you back. And at the same time as this is happening, this is where the Netflix storytelling formula comes in well. And they have these two women telling the stories. And then you find out that there's something going on, because there's another woman who doesn't end up in a relationship with him, but ends up, and that is the woman, oh good Lord, this Pernilla, she's the Swedish one, and she doesn't have a relationship with him, but she ends up as friends with him, and next thing you know, he's like, oh my God, I need help, and little by little, the first woman goes to a newspaper in Norway, and it becomes this sort of detective, investigative story that they're telling you as to how they linked the things back to figure out who this man is, what's going on, how long it has been going on for, and who else has who else is in trouble with him? And this documentary, I mean, it is really, really well told. It is a fantastical story that is true. And as I said, everything from the Times to the Independent have written stories about the Tinder Swindler. I keep getting a news alert on my phone talking about how the guy because the guy is an Israeli guy he's in Israel, and how he has been banned from using any dating app in the world now. and I just think it's a very, very well told story. It's a very well told story that will make you put your head in your hand and go, really, how did you not think something was going on then? How did you not think something was going on then? At that point, shouldn't there have been alarm bells ringing? And the women in the film admit that themselves. They readily admit that there should have been alarm bells ringing. For some reason, they weren't. And I just thought I really enjoyed it. I'll give it a 4 out of 5. I would recommend watching it, but I do think that when it comes to documentaries, Netflix are currently nailing it. They are absolutely nailing it. I think there are a few things that get me as excited as watching something as a Netflix documentary coming up before it. I'm like, oh yeah, they know what they're doing. And it's kind of one of those things where you know that there's a formula, but enjoying the story too much to bother to figure out what the formula is. If I sat down, I probably could, but it will probably kill the fun. All right, so 4 stars for the Tinder Swindler. Sharon, I would say give that a watch this weekend, and let me put it this way, it made me thankful that I never had to go on Tinder. It's like, it makes me go, Claudia, my wife, I love you. Thank you so much. You saved me.
I'm glad you saved me from
you saved me from ever having to go on Tinder, because this is weird, crazy nonsense. All right, and now we go back to cinema, and we're going to talk about Sing 2. Now, this is a sequel to Sing 1, that and when the original Sing was released, it looked like, I remember seeing the trailers and thinking that this seems like someone has just made an animated Britain's Got Talent, or an animated American Idol or Pop Idol. And there was an element of that. So in the original film, it was a story about this koala, Buster Moon, who lived in this city that was populated entirely by animals, who dreams of putting on a show. Dreams of putting on a show in this rundown theater that he has, that brings everybody in together, that gets the theater going, and it makes it a success. And that's his whole big thing. And he dreams of it by putting on a music show. And you have this sort of disparate groups of people, and there's a little bit of the pop idol thing that comes in, where you have where they give you the backstory about, this one is from a family of crooks but really wants to sing. This person is really, really shy and doesn't really talk, but when they sing, they have a wonderful voice. And this person is a mom who's put upon with so many children that are all over her all the time. She just wants one thing that's going to be for herself. And you have all this sort of typical stories. But in Sing, the heart that came through. I mean, there is a bit where Tori Kelly, who plays Mina the elephant in the first Sing, and she performs the song "Don't You Worry About a Thing," the Stevie Wonder song, and that will stay with me for a long time. I've seen this film years ago, and that sequence where she sings "Don't You Worry About a Thing" still sticks in my mind, and I just think this is amazing. And Sing 2 does exactly the same thing, because I'm going to give you my star rating. It's a 3-star film. It's a 3-star. Both films are 3-star films, but they are kind of like, I think I came out and I put on Twitter immediately after watching this, I was like, the Sing franchise is a 3-star franchise that I would happily watch a lot more of. The plots are predictable. They go from A to B. Plucky underdogs are fighting against this thing. Will they make it in the end? Will they be successful? I don't know. Maybe. Of course they will be successful. You know all that. This character's never had a boyfriend before. What's going to happen? They're going to get a boyfriend. This character is going to start off with stage fright. Guess what? They're going to overcome the stage fright. This character, so the storyline is, you know exactly what's going to happen. But the thing that gets Sing, and the thing that the Sing series gets right so far, is the musical numbers and the way they use music, and they use a lot of pop music. And in this one, the whole story is about how so obviously he's successful at the end of the first film. The second film kicks off with the success, and you get to see the success of the first film. The theater's a success, but he is a dreamer, and it's just part of his nature that he's always thinking bigger and bigger. And he's thinking, there's going to be a talent scout that's going to come check us out. And if we impress this talent scout, we can go to the big city, which is essentially Las Vegas. Everything about the city is Las Vegas. And we can put a show on in the Las Vegas of their world. and that's his whole. Is his pushes just to get there, just to get there, just to get there. And when the only way they can get there is to lie and say that they have access to someone called Clay Calloway, who is a lion, who used to be a rock star, who is voiced by Bono from U2.
Okay.
Yeah, who's voiced by Bono from U2, but no one's seen him for 15 years since his wife died. So this guy is voiced by Bono. All of his songs are U2 songs, but it's the way they use the music in these films that get the whole thing together. It's the way the musical numbers, the way they put all the different pops things in. There were bits where I was tapping my foot along. I was just singing along in the cinema. I was like, I like the way they've done that. I love the rendition. There's a bit where Johnny the chimpanzee, played by Taron Egerton, does a rendition of Coldplay's A Sky Full of Stars, and the way it's staged in the I think maybe because it's animated, it means that they can stage things that, wouldn't be possible in real life, or if you saw them in real life, you'd be like, wow. And they can do them easier because it's animated and there's no limit to it. There's a scene in the first one where they have this bioluminescent sort of squid, and they do this thing on the stage that once again stays with me and makes me go, wow, that is amazing. Even though I know it's animated and I know that it's not, that is amazing. And they do something similar here with like singing about Coldplay, singing a whole bunch of U2 songs, singing, and I just think that they nailed their musical aspect. And I left the cinema just feeling such like, a joy of life, if you will. I hope that is not too up myself to say that, but just feeling happy and going, yeah, you know what, that was totally cheesy and totally predictable, but man, they nailed those musical numbers. and that's what I walked away with. So I love the Sing franchise. I'm sitting there going, this is a 3-star all the way, but it is the very best kind of 3-star movie, where it's great. Loved it.
Oh, good.
Yes, and I will stop talking there because if not, I'll just sort of start singing, still haven't found what I'm looking for. But, so let's go back to, now we go back to Netflix for the thing that you saw.
Yeah, I saw this a couple of weeks ago, but it's called a film called Falling for Figaro, which is on Netflix.
Yes.
Because I'm using my phone to record this today, I can't look up the names of the actors, which I was normally going to go, yeah, it's got this, and this.
Okay, no, I've got you, Sharon. Just keep talking.
Yeah, so it basically is an American who's been living in London, working for a successful financial company, played by a lady who was in The Tourist that you reviewed quite recently, and was
Danielle MacDonald.
That's it, and she was very charmingly played Dumpling, didn't she? In a
yes.
Ago. But yeah, she's a nice. I just really rate her sort of film she's in. I like the way she does things. Anyway, yes. Even though she's like a financially successful financier in her career, her passion has been opera ever since she was a young child.
Yes.
And she decides that she's financially secure enough that she can actually take chances. And instead of sort of going for that next promotion and seeking ever more money, she just wants to have that sort of emotional sense that she's doing the right thing, or she's doing being her best self.
Yes.
So she's in a loving relationship with her permanent boyfriend, who was played by the guy who was in Star Trek Discovery.
Oh, Shazad Latif.
He's been he's been in quite lots of things. So again, he's really sort of quite charmingly played. You think he could be. They haven't fallen down the whole slippery slope of regular boyfriend. He's bound to be a sleaze. He's quite charming.
Or regular boyfriend. Therefore, life is boring.
Yeah. So he loves her. They're in a good relationship, but it's not ideal because he's trying to support her in her choices, even though he doesn't understand them. But part of her choices is that she seeks this music teacher who can take her from being just a gifted amateur to someone who can actually start to sing professionally.
Yeah.
So the person she seeks out is played by Joanna Lumley, who is like this classics teacher, and so she goes up there basically to audition for her on the off chance that she will say, okay, I will work with you on your voice.
Yeah.
So she goes up to meet her, and then while she's there, she has another student who is learning the craft of opera singing, played by the chap from Mamma Mia 2.
Hugh Skinner.
Hugh Skinner. Again, charmingly played. He often plays sort of like a hapless, slightly dippy character.
Yeah.
And he does that in this one as well. But there you can see that he has...
a bit kind of like a little bit Hugh Grant 30 years ago.
Yes. And he did play the young Hugh Grant in Mamma Mia, didn't he?
Oh, no. Hugh Grant isn't in Mamma Mia, is he?
Not Hugh Grant.
Colin Firth.
He played the young Colin Firth.
Yeah.
In Mamma Mia. So these three characters converge. You've got sort of these little boy and a girl, basically, both wanting to sing opera to a standard, and they both get entered into this sort of basically local opera competition. I didn't know there was such a thing.
Hang on, this is Sing all over again.
Yeah, and so you see them basically training and learning how to sing the best they can be, and then with all their insecurities, sort of learning to sing opera in a new way, and hopefully then sort of sparking enough interest that they will win this competition, and then that will pave the way to becoming professional singers. So as you have a young man and a young woman in an isolated setting with the same goal, with the same aim in mind, you inevitably have sort of romance or tensions between, hey, this you guy is really good, but hey, my old guy's good as well. What do I do?
Yeah.
So there's a whole element of that, but the film was sort of played charmingly by all parts, because it's easier in these films to be like, hey, that's cheating if you start flirting or start doing too much with the new guy, when you've got your old guy. It's like, hey, that's not fun, or that's not really very good. So I think
Team Jeff, Team Simon.
Yeah. So they did sort of steer the way through those stormy waters, I think, quite discreetly. So you're thinking, that's a better way of dealing with these things if you're going to have sort of that attraction between someone. But if someone's with someone else, it's like, no, that's not good. So they toy with this whole idea of like infidelity, cheating. I was like, no, don't go down that line, please. And
I have to admit, it is one of my bugbears. It is one of my bugbears with storytelling nowadays. It's like
it's just like the old boyfriend is disposable. It's like,
doesn't marriage and fidelity mean anything to you people?
Yeah. So yes, so there was that suggestion of that in there, but I was thinking, don't go down that, don't fall into all those traps. But I think largely they did. And the music, even though I'm not an opera fan, I do listen to all sorts of stuff, but I thought they did the music very well. The characters were likeable, and it worked really well. So I was quite pleased with it. I think we'll put it down in our sort of Sunday afternoon type films. You can sit up, put your feet up, watch it, eat a biscuit while you're watching it.
Yes.
And enjoy it. So I'd give it 3. Again, it's like Sing in the regard that it's a good 3. There's nothing wrong with it being a 3, but it was never going to be anything more than a 3.
Yeah.
And so as an entertaining film, it worked. So I enjoyed it.
Oh, good stuff. So 3 out of 5 for Falling for Figaro. Well, though, I have to admit, Danielle MacDonald is becoming one of those people who is like, is she in something? Yeah, I'll watch it.
Yeah, she's very watchable. And she was in, I can't remember the name of the film. Do you remember? There was a film about a girl who'd been raped and no one believed her.
Unbelievable. Yeah, the TV series, yeah.
Yeah, and it was on Netflix. I saw that, and she was in that as one of this rapist's later victims. And again, played this rape victim really, really well, very convincingly.
Yeah. Well, good stuff. So, although I believe they're called survivors nowadays.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
I still fall into the whole police trap where we like go, aggrieved offender. So in my head, I think them in those terms.
Yeah, I know. It is, to be honest with you. I mean, language is changing so quickly nowadays that I'm just kind of like, you know what? I'm going to say something and somebody correct me if it's wrong, and then try and explain to me why I'm wrong. Because things are changing so much. I'm like, what? What's saying what now? Really? Stop making me look old. But but anyway, that is it. What we have for our reviews this week. So quite frankly, I think cinema lost because cinema gave us Moonfall. So I think cinema gave us Moonfall, and even all the fails and all the goodwill of Sing 2 could not pull cinema back. So until next week, I mean, I don't know what is on. This is going to be one of those things where I think they are beginning to increase the hit rate or the release rate of films ever since Christmas and fears about Omicron. Well, A, fears of Omicron. B, Spider-Man No Way Home. But we're beginning to see more films coming out quicker. But let's see. Let me see what is actually around that I can... Jackass. Okay, there was Jackass Forever, which I was not going to watch. And I was pretty sure that you're not going to watch that, so...
Yeah,
so
that's a no.
because I feel like Jackass, what's the point of reviewing it? I mean, I'm like, look, if you like Jackass, go watch it. If you don't like Jackass, you're not going to like it.
You're never going to watch it. If you want to see sort of grown man being punched in the testicles, film your boot.
That's it. It's like, do you think grown man being punched in the testicles is good? Cool. Then go watch Jackass. Yeah. That's my review.
You're probably not going to want to watch it then.
Ooh, Uncharted. Uncharted's out for this weekend. Death on the Nile's out this weekend.
Okay, some possibilities there then.
Ooh, Marry Me is out this weekend.
Yeah.
Oh, and there's a film out here called Love, Sex, and Pandemic.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Based on what I just said earlier, I don't think I might like this film. We follow the lives of 3 women and a young man who are sexually liberated and treats monogamy lightly. I'm like, oh, no.
It's going to be a no for me then.
Oh, yeah, it's like, I think it might be a limited release anyway. Okay, so I think Uncharted and Death on the Nile might be the 2. And maybe Marry Me, because Marry Me sounds mental. It sounds mental.
And it's St. Valentine's this week, so they're probably thinking, let's do something romantic.
Well, okay, I'll tell you what the plot of this film is. You have Jennifer Lopez, who plays a superstar singer, a bit like Jennifer Lopez, and she is going out with another superstar singer, and they decide that they're going to get married, but they're going to get married at a concert that they're all going to do the whole thing. Right before she goes on stage, she realizes that this guy is cheating on her, and so she's like, well, I'm not going to go through with this marriage. So marriage, and so you have Owen Wilson, who is a guy who has been dragged along he's a single dad who's been dragged along to this concert by his daughter and his best friend, played by Sarah Silverman. And because Marry Me is the name of this big song, his daughter's given him a sign saying Marry Me. And Jennifer Lopez stands on the stage where she's promised everyone she's going to get married, sees the sign of this guy saying Marry Me, and goes, yes, I'll marry you. And then he gets bundled onto stage and he goes, okay, and then they get married.
Is that legal? You have to have a license with your name on it beforehand.
I think they had a legal. Well, I don't know. The film's gonna gloss that over, and then they spend the rest of the film trying to learn how to be married. From what I can tell, okay. And you kind of go, okay, so it's kind of a rom-com in reverse, but it's I'll give it some marks for trying to do something a little bit different in the rom-com space. But yeah, and everybody looks like they're trying really hard. And as we know, there is no greater recommendation for a film than that. Everybody tried really hard. All right, cool. We until next week when we will watch some combination of those films.
Watch something. Yeah.
We watch a combination of those films. It's a goodbye from me.
And it's a goodbye for me.
And unfortunately, we have no Kemi here to have the final word. But if she was here, it would be a goodbye from her too.